Now, one of the things that when you talk to people is that everybody has similar anxieties, and today, it's there's a unique type of anxiety that has become much more popular, especially in the last couple of years, with all of the things that are happening with coronavirus and the Omicron and all the other nonsense that's in the air. Whether it's the monkey disease from the homosexuals or it's the political disease that every country has. Everybody is concerned about some new world order or some hidden scheme behind something that the government is pushing or society is pushing or big pharma is pushing. And you talk to people and you see literally how miserable their life is because they don't have a moment of peace. They're constantly looking over their shoulder of who's about to get them, who's about to attack them, who is trying to fool them, who is taking advantage of them. And it's rare to see anybody having a moment of peace. Now, if you look at the pictures they have on the internet and the World Wide Web altogether, with social media and so on, it looks like everybody has a peaceful life. They're hanging out on the beach, they're hanging out in some fancy car, they're hanging out at some casino, at some party. Everybody looks like they have peace and they have a good time, and they even have statements where they say that they're having a good time. But when people like myself talk to them, and then they start, crying to you, even though they only met you 37 seconds ago, about the misery that they call life, and how they're worried that they're going to be alone forever, or they're worried that they're going to be stuck in this relationship forever, or they're worried that they won't have money to eat, or they're worried that people are stealing the money that they have because they found that they have a lot of money, or they're worried that Big Pharma is trying to kill them, or they're worried that Big Pharma doesn't have a cure for them, or they're worried about the government, or they're worried about some other thing. Everyone is constantly worried, and you literally see how people are clueless when it comes to solving their problem, because instead of answering that worry with something that could actually help it, what do? They feed themselves more information that makes them even more worried. They're worried that perhaps the government is trying to kill off 8 billion people or 6 billion, because of course they have to leave somebody to pay taxes. They're worried that the big pharmaceutical companies are trying to kill all of its patients. They're worried that the diseases out there are real or they're not real. And instead of actually solving the problem of their anxiety, the reason behind their anxiety, which we'll get to in a second, what do? They spend an exorbitant amount of time learning more about what they're worried about, as if it's going to do anything, as if you becoming an expert about the virus or the antivirus or the Norton and the McAfee virus, and as if any of that is going to help you, as if watching somebody, whether they be a rabbi or a medical expert, is going to help you in any way, shape, or form. In fact, all it does is create more worry, more anxiety, more conspiracy, and whether the conspiracy is not really a conspiracy or it's real, and whether there's a new world order or is an old world order, none of that is actually going to solve anybody's problems. And the fact is, it's actually going to create additional anxiety and additional distance from God, because the more worried you are about man, the more distant you are from the God who created man. And therefore, when you talk to people, you can't help yourself but feel bad for them that they're on the road of Er Enonan and not the road of Pinchas or Bnei Korach that arrived at peace. What's the difference between the two? Er and Onan went after whatever they thought made sense. They thought that, they should protect beauty for beauty's sake. And if they want to reproduce, then simply get some side gig for that. Get something else for that. But beauty has to be, the top priority in life. In today's world, beauty, materialism, money, and so on. Now, so chasing all of that means that you're also protecting what you have or chasing the dream that may never arrive. And what ends up happening with people like that is they're literally chasing their tail without realizing it's actually their tail. And they live a life that never ends. as far as their anxiety until it's too late. When they realize that all of their anxieties were for nothing. In fact, most of their anxiety was self-inflicted. Most of their problems were self-inflicted, and they were not even close to a road of success. On the other hand, when people are actually chasing peace, the first thing they do is realize that staying on their current road is certainly not going to get them to peace. But getting to the one that owns peace, getting to the one that creates peace, getting to the one and only that has peace is the road to peace. And thereby lies the wisdom that a person needs to acquire in order to achieve peace. Now, if you ask the average person, would you like wisdom? The average person would usually say yes. Unfortunately, the average person is not really going to know what wisdom is. They'll think that wisdom is something that maybe you get with age. Even though there are many stupid people that are not wise even at 80 years old. And the Gemara says that people that do not know Torah and their amei aratzot, their ignoramuses, they become more foolish as they get older, not wiser. Whereas Talmidei Chachamim, the Torah scholars, actually get more sharp and more wise over time. So in fact, waiting for that wisdom to arrive just because you aged is simply a fool's errand. On the other hand, people that are looking into the Torah and say, well, there's wisdom there. There's enough wisdom there to make it last for the last few thousand years and outsell every other wisdom that ever existed. And quite frankly, any wisdom out there that has any bit of truth in it already exists in the Torah. So when a person looks into the Torah and you tell them, do you want some wisdom? They'll tell you yes, but they won't really have much of an idea of how to acquire it. One of the things that people assume is that you need to have a very good memory in order to acquire wisdom. Now, although having a good memory is a very good thing, and people always ask me, well, how did you go from this to that? And I have some people that ask me strange questions and quite frankly make me very uncomfortable to answer some of these questions because they think I'm a whole lot more than what I really am. But in their eyes, I'm very smart, and I'm very this, and I'm very that, and quite frankly, if you actually ever met real Torah scholars that I know, you'd realize that I could only be, in hopes, dust under their feet. But we aspire, we try, we learn, we do whatever we can to acquire wisdom. At the very least, we know we're on the right path. We're not deluding ourselves. At the same token, when I look at other people that perhaps 8, 10, 15 years ago, 10, 20 years ago, were in the same place that I was. I look at them today, and not only are they still in the same place that I was, they're actually in a worse place today as they deteriorated over the last 15 or 20 years. So you arrived at a certain level of peace, a certain level of wisdom, a certain level of knowledge. You have a certain understanding of how the world operates, and you're not nervous about, quite frankly, anything, while they're more nervous than ever before, even though they have more possessions. They're more stressed out, they're more alone, they're more sick, they're more everything negative, but nothing really has changed for them in a negative way. I mean, they've acquired the possessions that they wanted, or at the very least, much more than what they used to have. They acquired a lot of the different things that they wanted, but yet their life deteriorated. So if you look at the argument of if I get rich and I get my stuff, then I'll be happy, and you live long enough to see all of those people that chase it arrive at what they wanted, you'll actually be very disappointed that despite them reaching their goals, happiness is nowhere nearer. Now, when it comes to wisdom, those that do acquire wisdom, you'll see that as they acquire more and more wisdom, they actually do become happier. And in fact, one of the things that is important for a person to know is that although having a good memory is very good, it's not necessarily within your control as much as you think it is. And quite frankly, it's not necessarily as critical as people think.